How's it going, YouTube? Back on the MR2. I want to do a bit of work on this today and get this spoiler sprayed. See if we can try and get this the right colour and get it on the car. I just want to see if I can remember how to spray. I could do it with the rattle cans, but I want to do it with a proper gun, just so I can see if I can still spray. Right, in the last video we did the windscreen surround. That's how it's come out. That matches in quite nicely, doesn't it? The beginning of the car being grey. Nice. Right, so I want to get that spoiler sprayed and get it on there, see how it looks. Get it all grey. What I might do actually as well is take this off and spray this top grey as well. I'll probably rattle can that, get that the same colour, so just this front strip here is red. We might do that today as well. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to work from the front of the car to the back of the car and get it all grey. So the first job is going to be this front bumper. So we'll take that off as soon as I can, and then we can start prepping that and we can paint that as well. Figure out how we're going to do it and what we're going to do with it, because I might put some fog lights in there or something, I don't know yet. We'll get it off and then figure out what we're going to do. Make it up as I go along like usual. But for now, get the sander out, get this flattened, get a bit of primer on it. We've got rattle can primer, so we'll just primer it with that. And then we'll get some colour on it. Okay, let's give this a sand down. Can't find any dust masks, so these masks come in useful for something. Right, there we are, all sanded down. I had to fill a few bits as well. We had a hole there. That was the drainage hole from the moulding. I don't know why they put it there. That was a stupid place. If it was here, it'd have been better. But I filled that in, sanded that back off. There was another hole here. I've had to fill that in and sand that back off. And we remember the bit that fiberglassed on the top. That's all sanded back smooth now. It took quite a bit of sanding this. It was a really bad state actually, but it's all nice and smooth now. So what I'll do is I'll give that a couple of coats of primer, flat it back, and then we'll be able to see properly. Once it's all one colour, we'll be able to see how flat it actually is. And like usual, remember, this is not a how-to video. This is just a bit of a ride along with me, because I'm not a sprayer. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'll do the best I can with what I've got and see what it turns out like. I just like playing around. What I will do when I come to spray it is I'll put a bolt in there and I'll clamp it to hold it straight, and then I'll be able to get all the way around to where I need to get. But for now, for the primer, I'll just spray this side, let it dry, and then I'll flip it over and we'll just do it a bit at a time like that. Quick dusting coat, let that dry, and then we'll go over it again. Right, changed my mind. I've bolted it down now. So I've bolted it and then clamped where the bolt is, so at least I can spray all the way around it now. Right, I've had a few coats of primer now. I'm going to let that dry properly, and then I'll give it a flat back. It's still not perfect. It's not the best quality spoiler, but once it's flattered back, I've painted it and I've put the lacquer on. I've got nicer thick lacquer on it. It should look a lot better. But all those holes that I had, they've covered up nicely. So I'll leave that to dry for a bit now. Right, while that's drying, I'm going to go in there and dig out my paint and get the gun ready as well. Right, I've just pulled out all my paints. I've just remembered, for the last 2 years, these have all been packed away. So I think the only one I really need to replace is the thinners. The bottom of that's gone a bit rusty, so the thinners will leak out of that now, so I need to get another one of those. It'll do for today. Well, the rest of the paint looks all right. I've opened up this grey. This is fine. That's half full, well, over half full, so that'll definitely do for what we need to do on the car. This clear coat's gone a bit weird, but I've got another one here. This one's completely full. That one's fine, that's never been opened. And the hardeners, they're okay as well. We've got a speedy and a medium. Obviously this is isocyanate based 2-pack. It's not the best thing to spray really without proper ventilation and everything. I've got a decent mask up there, but you shouldn't really spray this at home. So don't do what I'm doing and use this. You should use water-based really. So the primer's dry, so I'm going to get this gun set up with a little bit of grey and let's see how it lays down. Right, what we've got there is a 50-50 mix of Indian grey and the thinners. The main reason for me spraying this with the gun is because I can't remember what pressures I was running, so I need to get it right now. I can do that with the spoiler and I can try and remind myself how to do all this. So I'll get this in the gun. I made 200mm up, 100mm grey, 100mm thinners. I'll put that in the gun and I'll have a play about with it. See if I can remember. I remember this gun. This is a DeVilbiss SRI. This is a little panel gun. This is perfect for what we're doing now. I remember this running quite low pressure, so I think it was about 20 psi or something like that. I can't remember. So I'll have a play with it, get the pressure right, and see what sort of spray pattern we can get out of it. I've stripped this down and cleaned it out. So it is free flowing now, so hopefully should be a nice good spray pattern. Let's have a look. That colour's actually going on quite nice. So I'm going to let that dry a bit, give it a few more coats, and then we'll get back to you when it's all ready and coloured. That's had a few coats now. Colour looks decent, so I'm going to leave that to properly dry for a bit, and then I'll come back and we'll get some lacquer on it. But the colour's looking decent, so we'll come back in a bit. It's now the next day. I've given that a few coats. I've sanded it down between the coats just to get a nice coverage on it. Now it's ready. I've also set up a bit of a radiator in here because it was 5 degrees. I've now got it up to 11.8. I want it a minimum of 12 degrees in here before we start spraying any lacquer. It can't be too cold. That's nice and covered. The grey's nice. In fact, let's take it outside and have a quick look how it matches in, shall we? Right, there we are. There's a nice colour match. Matches in nice. Looking good. Right, let's take that in and let's get some lacquer on it, shall we? Once I've done that, I'm going to come back out and take that off. We're going to colour match the top of that in. Right, I'll put the bolt back in. I'll get this bolted back down. All I've done is put that bolt underneath and then I'll clamp it on here. That's what I did before. Right, that's clamped back down. We're up at 12.5 degrees. So this isn't warm enough to spray, I think. Right, I'm going to go down there and set some lacquer up. As I said yesterday, we're using a 2-pack lacquer. I wouldn't recommend using this at home because you're supposed to use the proper breathable air masks and everything for this, so I wouldn't recommend using this type of lacquer. I've just been doing a bit of Googling here just to remind me of the mix of the clear coat. We've got 1,000 parts clear coat to 500 parts hardener with a 50 to 200 parts thinners. So on the mixing cup we've got a 4:1 mix and I'll put 10% of thinners in it. I'm going to mix it down at this lowest one here because, to be honest, that'll be enough for this spoiler. That gives us a total of about 80ml of paint. That should be enough. So I'm going to try it at that first, see how it lays down. I think the reason this clear coat and hardener have survived so well over the last couple of years being thrown in a box is because they were sealed brand new, so that's lucky. I've not opened these ones. I'll get that in the gun. Right, what I normally do with this when I'm spraying lacquer is I give it a quick coat just to get it all sticky, and then I give it one heavy coat to get it on, and that's normally how I lay it. Right, let's give it a spray and see how it turns out, see if I remember how to do this and see if I can do it without getting any runs in it. Right, that's one quick coat on. I'll give that a second and then I'll give it one heavy coat and then that should be it. Right, that's had its heavy coat now. I've managed to get a run in it there. Round the back I've got one as well there. As I say, this is a bit of a learning thing for me again, just to remind me how to spray. So once that's dried, we'll get those runs out and sort it out. Right, we're now about a week on from where we've just left off. This is the 3rd time I've sprayed this and now it's good. Let's have a look. Right, now that's sprayed. That's all nice. Like I've just said, this is the 3rd time I've done it. I'll tell you why in a second. What else I've done is I've taken the third brake light off. I've painted the top of that grey, so that'll match in. We're going to get that all on in a second. Right, this, what have I learned? I've learned that I forgot how to spray. So after 3 times of doing it, I managed to get it right. The main reason was my paint mixing. Because I was mixing in such small quantities, it was hard to get all the ratios and everything correct. So all I did is I've just knocked it up a notch to the next one and mixed up 100 mil instead of about 50 mil, and it made it a lot easier. I've put less thinners in it as well, because with the amount of thinners I was using, I was getting runs and everything else. I'm not good enough to spray to stop it from getting runs. So I've put a little splash of thinners in it, and as you can see, it's gone on a lot nicer. The other thing I was doing wrong is I was doing this in sections, backwards and forwards, then to that bit, backwards and forwards, then to that bit, backwards and forwards. So it was putting too much spray in this area, and then I was getting runs down here. I did that the first 2 times. The other thing, the main thing, was when this was on that bench, I wasn't getting to this underneath properly, right down there. So I found hanging it up, I could walk around it. As I've sprayed it, I've literally steadied it with one hand to stop it from swaying backwards and forwards, and then it allowed me to spray around it properly. So I can get an even spread, and I could see it all properly just to make sure it was covered right. Right, what else have I learned? Small space like this, a full face mask is essential, especially when you're doing the lacquer. Much better. First time I did it with a half mask, made me feel sick. So it's quite a small area, this. What else I need is an extractor fan. So I'm going to get a little 4-inch extractor fan and put a hose out that window. It's for the lacquer more than anything. The paint's not too bad. It's when you do the lacquer, because it's a 2-pack lacquer, it's awful. And this is a small confined space. So I just need to be careful when I'm doing that on the next panels. Right, so let's get these bits down. Let's get them on the car and see what they look like. Right, spoilers on. I've just come back from my camera. I didn't bother filming it because it's literally just me screwing it on and the light. So let's have a look, see what it looks like. There you are. That's on. And the third brake light. That looks a lot better. That's looking nice. Colour blends in nicely. That blends in much nicer now. You can just see the front of the light. I don't know if it's affecting it. I suppose when you're in a car behind, you're sat that sort of height. So you should be able to see the third brake light still, even with that spoiler. You'd have to be pretty damn low not to see it. That really finishes off that back end when it's not got a wing on it now. That's looking good. Can't wait to see the rest of the car grey now. What I have done, as well as bolt it on, is I've just put a little bit of black Sikaflex underneath it, just to stick it down so it won't come off. Because it's literally just got the one bolt either side, which is a bit rickety. But yeah, I think that looks nice now, that engine lid. That's finished. Right, so that's the ducktail spoiler on. Comment below, let me know what you think of that and compare it to the wing. Obviously the wing can go back on if we need it to, and it wouldn't look too out of place either with the ducktail on. But for normal everyday driving, especially with the roof down, it'll be the ducktail. Right, I've got the full face mask now, so that was better on the last spraying round that I did. That's much better. I just need to get the extractor, and then in the next video on the MR2 we can start stripping out some other bits. What I might do is just work from the front of the car to the back, or the back to the front. I'll decide which way around. I'm going to do it later. And then we'll take a panel off at a time and paint it and do some other bits, see if we can make it look a bit posher. In between those, because it probably get a bit boring painting the panels, we can see if we can do some other stuff as well, like sort the seats out or do a bit of work on the engine or something like that. So if you want to see more of this MR2, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to like the video, because that's good. That gets it out there for me, helps a little bit. Don't forget to comment below what you think of that spoiler, and I'll catch you guys later. Cheers.